What is a near-death experience? A near-death experience, or NDE, is a common pattern of events that many people experience when they are experiencing intense threat, are seriously ill, or come close to death. Each NDE varies from one person to another, and they can experience many different feelings and emotions that are unique to that individual. Some common reports of these experiences are a sensation of leaving the body, sometimes being able to see the physical body while floating above it. The mind functioning more clearly and more rapidly than usual. A sensation of being drawn into a tunnel or darkness. A brilliant light, sometimes at the end of the tunnel. A sense of overwhelming peace, well-being, or absolute unconditional love. A sense of having access to unlimited knowledge. A life review or a recall of important events in the past. A preview of future events yet to come. Encounters with deceased loved ones or with other beings that may be identified as religious figures. Awesome. Welcome, everybody, to Andromeda 7, your celestial gateway, your channel for community support, help, friendship, love, knowledge, and just plain being of value to others. And welcome back. If you're new to the channel, it's so good to have you with us. And remember, it's Friday night, and it's time to feed your mind and grow your heart. And tonight we're talking about the near-death experiences and what they reveal about our thoughts. So this is really a fascinating subject, and we're really excited to get going on this. And I will turn it over to Teresa to talk more about that.
Hey, greetings, everyone. It's good to see you. I can't type into the chat, but hello to all of you, and we'll try to keep in track of some of your experiences too. I'm sure a few of you have them. But Lori, I have a question for you already.
Sure.
Yeah? It's about your pal, Mickey Mouse.
Okay.
Just kind of wondered, do you know how Minnie revived her adorable Mickey during his near-death experience?
I'm sure you're going to tell us.
Mouse-to-mouse resuscitation? Yeah.
She's only here for an hour, folks.
I thought that was
a good one.
It's cute.
Yep.
Mouse-to-mouse resuscitation.
Well, welcome, Karen. Welcome back, Karen. Good to see you.
Yes, it's good to see Karen, most definitely. Yep, good to see you.
And Dalibor, Brian, Grandpa Brian, and Sophia just texted me. She's getting her headsets together.
Oh, great.
Earbuds.
Oh, good.
We'll be
So
watching
she'll be
for
coming
her.
in too. Yeah.
Awesome. Love
She'll be
Sophia.
coming in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sophia Rasmussen.
Yeah. We've got some people in chat. We
Class
could,
name. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, acknowledge them.
Yeah.
Hey, Barry Chad, good to see you as always. Jackie J, good to have you with us as well. Beloved Abstract, welcome. Smoking in G, so good to have you with us there. Loving your channel. Hey, and if you haven't seen her channel yet or gone to it, check out Smoking in G Sharp there. Just type in the name and she'll pop up for you. Truth Seeker, always a pleasure, Jayashir. Good to see you. Robert V, hello everyone. He says, you got a show tonight there, Robert? You probably do. You've been doing a lot of them. So yeah, go check out his channel as well. Mary Wins, always a pleasure, and beautiful people.
Mary.
You are beautiful as well. Max Vision Remote, and he has a channel as well. Go check him out. He does that remote viewing, and it's fascinating. Very intelligent man, and lots of good conversation.
Yeah.
Let's see.
He does shows on the weekends too.
Oh, I love him. He's great. Yep.
Bud Fossil
He's my kind of people. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mud fall. So, hey, Scotty boy, you made it. Gosh, I wish we could do Thursday nights, but it just doesn't work for us,
Yeah, Scotty,
unfortunately.
sorry about
But
that.
we're glad you're here. Yeah, maybe you're still working, but good to see you. And looks like that's everyone that we have right now. So great,
Okay,
everybody.
cool.
Thanks for being here.
Good.
All
All
right.
right. And welcome, new viewers. We had some
Yes.
more new subscribers and some
Mm-hmm.
more folks following on Instagram. Welcome,
Yeah.
Instagram folks. And
Yep.
good to see you and appreciate the support. And we hope you enjoy the program. All right. So, near death experiences. Wow. I tell you, Lori did a great job of covering all the highlights in the opening video. So if you haven't seen it or seen the trailer, go ahead and play it sometime. But um, there seems to be a couple of different classifications. You either have a really great experience or you have a terrifying experience,
Or you have
and,
no
or you
experience
have
at
no
all.
experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And so the vast majority of the research shows the more positive experiencers. There's very rare, and it has to do with our thoughts of our worldview, where we come from, our programming, if you will, or our practices, and our beliefs about the afterlife, in terms of what we expect. So when we go through something that's traumatic and we have a near-death experience, sometimes, we go into it with the expectation that it's going to be something very frightening. And there's other times, hey, Sophia, welcome.
Hi, Sophia.
And then there's other
Good to see
times
you.
where you experience the joy of it, and that was my case. So we have some expert testimony, and we also have our own stories to
Mm-hmm.
share.
You have an incredible story yourself.
Yeah, 12 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
August 25th, 2010, I had that collision. I was a transit bus operator at the time, and I had 27 passengers. It was a 40-foot bus.
Big
And
bus.
yeah, 40-footer, and we were doing about 35 or 40 miles an hour going through a green light intersection right in front of the metro station. And there was a hotel passenger van that did a left turn in a red light. And he thought he could beat out everybody that was coming.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of slowing down when he saw the yellow, and we were all already in motion, there was nowhere for me to go. There was cars to my right, there was cars to my left. There were tons of cars behind me. I saw him coming across the median, and I knew it was going to be pretty much a head-on because he didn't have time to make that full turn. So I swerved to the right to try to avoid an actual head-on because I didn't want my passengers thrown. And I ended up, there was a major explosion, and all I saw was this brilliant white light. And I didn't know why. I was just no longer here. I was like surrounded by white. And I didn't see shapes or figures or anything, just pure white. And it turns out that it's because the bus bounced off of that T-bone with corner to corner. The windshield came in on me, and the bus veered and hit the curb of the sidewalk, which hit a light pole. You know how some light poles stick out from the sidewalk?
Mm-hmm.
It was the red-green light, and it took the whole side of the bus off, going all the way down the driver's side, ripped it
Wow.
open like a can opener. And when it did that, the frame came in, and the frame came in on me.
Ugh.
So it was the entire windshield came in. The passenger, my side mirror came in.
Mm-hmm.
All the metal framing just took my face, and chest, and ribs, and took my nose off, busted everything on the face, and it bounced off of that pole and was headed for a brick wall, and so there was a third collision with a tree, and I wasn't aware of any of it because like I said, when it first happened, I just saw white, and during that period of time when I saw white. You know, you take a deck of cards and flip it with your thumb.
Mm-hmm.
You can see Jack, Queen, King, Ace,
Mm-hmm.
or you can take tarot cards and you get the images. That's what it was. It was me as a kid, me with dad, me with mom, me on the boat, me with my nieces and nephews, high school, college. It was like flip, 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 flip. All these images of my life.
So it's true. Your life really does pass
Yeah,
before you, huh?
yeah. In this case, yeah. And I could hear, I could still hear screams. I could hear things, but I couldn't see anybody. And I said, "Oh my God, this is it. This is it. This is how it's going to end. I'm not. No, 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 no." and
Yeah.
uh, and all of a sudden, I just felt this incredible feeling of still having a body, but not a heavy body. And I was younger. I felt like I was maybe 20 or 30. I felt young. I
They
felt
say you go back
vital.
to the prime of your life.
Yeah,
So
because I
in
was moving
spirit, you're
around
in
in
your
white,
prime.
and I was moving
Yep.
around in a very different way.
Wow.
And no voices, no angelic beings, nothing like
Uh-huh.
that.
Hmm.
I just heard whispers, and I heard thoughts, and I heard my mom in the background. I heard a couple friends of mine from high school that had died when I on graduation day. I heard their
Mm-hmm.
voices, you know,
Wow.
and I knew I was in two places at one time. I was halfway somewhere, and it was just all white, no tunnel. I didn't see a tunnel or anything like that. But then, while I was sitting in the seat, apparently, I do remember drifting back into this dimension, I guess, because there was a guy standing next to me, reaching in through the window to help me. But people, I'm raised way high up in the air. He would have had to have been 12 or 13 feet tall or even taller to do what he did. And
Mm-hmm.
he was comforting me. He put his hand on my chest and he said, "Take it easy. You're not going anywhere. You're going to be fine. You're not going anywhere."
He was coming through the driver's
He
side?
was coming through the window didn't exist anymore,
Yeah.
but it
And
was a
it's
hole.
way up off the ground. How the heck does somebody stand?
Exactly. But that's what I remember. Isn't that weird? So
Wow.
then I don't remember anything until the hospital, except for hovering over. See, I don't remember them physically touching me and taking me off the bus. I don't remember gagging on my own fluid. I don't
Wow.
remember being intubated. I don't
Hmm.
remember being inverted at a 45-degree angle. I don't remember all that. What I do remember is seeing myself looking down on the ground. They had me on the ground and they were taking my clothes off. And there was all these medical people, medical EMTs, emergency people around me. And they were talking like, "Oh, this is bad. This is bad. She's not going to make it." And this young girl says, "Invert her, invert her." And I'm like, "What? What? What? What do you mean I'm not going to make it? What? What? What?" You know? But I was just like, "I'm dying."
And you're witnessing all this as an observer and not
Yeah. And
your physical body
and I was just like
yourself.
freaking out.
Wow.
So the next thing I know, I'm being touched on the face, and they're like, "You made it. You made it. You hear us? You made it. Don't go back to sleep. Stay awake. Stay awake." I was in the
Hmm.
emergency room of the shock trauma. I had been medevaced
Wow.
to a shock trauma unit, and they were trying to wake me up. They were trying to get me to come back. And I heard this voice, "You're not ready. You're not ready. You're not ready. Stay with them. You're not ready." That's all I heard. "You're not ready. Stay with them. There's more for you to do." That's the message I was getting. Then it didn't come from anybody I knew. It wasn't my mom or anybody like that.
I think I asked you this before. Did you have a sense of how far above your body you were? Like in feet, maybe? Could you? I mean,
Well, I
how
live in a
far above?
townhouse,
Hmm.
so to me it was like being in the second or third story of my townhouse looking down. So,
So 15 to 25 feet, maybe above your
yes,
body,
something like that.
enough to really
It
see
wasn't
every.
up in the clouds or anything like
No,
that.
but I mean enough to really see the
Oh, I
big
could see
picture of
my
what was.
hands and my feet.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I could see the top of my head,
Uh huh.
but not my face. At one time, somebody moved to the left, and I saw part of my profile.
Mm-hmm.
but I was missing half my. It looked like I was missing half my face.
Oh my God.
Turns out I was. It was all here and here.
How did you feel in spirit when this was going on? What were you experiencing any emotions or anything of that nature?
Actually, only, oh my God, I'm. They're not. They said I'm not going to make it,
Mm-hmm.
and they're working on me,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, oh well, oh well, and
Yeah.
I had that feeling that it's okay. It is what it is, and I'm like, but I'm not really ready.
Yeah.
And then I heard the whispering of all these people that I knew,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, I'm coming with you guys.
So
See,
you didn't want to go back to your body?
no, because at the time of the accident, for weeks, I had been upset with my job. I had some
Yeah.
very difficult customers.
Mm-hmm.
Those people would get into fights on the bus. They pulled knives. They threw shoes. I mean, they were just terrible people, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they just had a lot of things going on, and I was not enjoying the job anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted out.
Yeah.
And that accident, be careful what you think about, what you ask the universe for.
Yeah. Boy, the universe
That was their way of
delivered.
giving me an exit plan if I wanted it. And but I remember saying to my friends, "Oh, I'm coming with you. I'm coming with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
This is fun." I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, cool." And I
Did it feel like home? Did it feel like
yes,
you were?
it felt like I felt like I belonged there
Uh-huh.
more than I belonged here.
Gotcha.
Home, I'm not sure if I would call it home, but I felt like I was going to where I belonged.
Felt familiar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
That I didn't really belong here, that this was just something that happened, and I'm done now.
Yeah.
So I could go with you guys,
Yeah.
And it was a lot of love, a lot of support, a lot of love.
Kind of like
feel it.
take
the
jacket off and releasing it and letting it go, like it's worn out and no longer serves you. So you just kind of like.
I was ready to go wherever they said, let's go. And I'm like, I'm ready to go. And the consensus was, there's so much more for you to do. And I didn't realize it at the time, you all. I had a really tough time with recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a long time and lots of therapy. Therapy for every part of your body, your brain, speech, everything. Wheelchair, all this stuff. It took me a long time. And at the time, I didn't appreciate what I had experienced.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people come back with this religious or spiritual insight. All of a sudden, they're, oh, God is wonderful. God is good. And, the universe is great. I came back with, how could you send me back here?
Yeah. And isn't it interesting that not everybody has the same experience? It's all very unique to each individual,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until a few years later that I realized the value of what I had gone through, and that your thoughts affect the outcome of certain. It was a contract. Mm-hmm. That part of the contract was over.
Yeah.
But there was a new contract coming into play where I was taking care of a family that needed a friend, a big sister, an aunt, a grandmother figure. They all had a different view of me. Mm-hmm. And I was back to help them through a difficult time. And that I ended up being with them and enjoying life in a different way. So I had a different purpose to that's another contract. See, for me, I'm seeing that now. And now that's over to a large extent. And now I've moved into another shift. And during this whole time, I was growing spiritually. So for me, it was a gradual process of growing. And I was making mistakes. I hooked up with people I shouldn't have hooked up with, or I got involved with people I shouldn't have got. I mean, we all go through all these things.
Yeah. Well, there's no manual to life. There's
no manual, and you learn. You have to learn along the way.
You got to wing it the whole time.
But I hadn't gone through my dark night of the soul when I had that experience. And I went through that afterwards. So there was a reason for me to come back because I hadn't finished the work.
Right. Wow.
My oversoul knew I hadn't finished the work. Mm-hmm. So I had a lot of karmic clearing to do.
Mm-hmm. And you had unfinished business.
Business, and to fully understand what spirituality really meant. because I had come from a very religious background, and I was into religiosity or Christianity and born again Christian and all
That's
that.
interesting. So you weren't spiritually awake at that time. You were
Not
into
in
the
the way I am
religious
now.
program.
I was a religious program.
Right. Wow. So
and by the way, that was a lifesaver too. Because for me, the ability to be connected with source, I always believe in a higher power, not higher. I always believed that there was something other than just me.
Right.
There is something other than just me, but I'm part of it and it's part of me.
Right.
We're all one and all in one. So
gotcha. Truth Seeker has a
change. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
It's
but
all right.
I did.
I'm done.
Truth Seeker has an interesting question. Do you think NDEs are a means for walk-ins to take place, like fulfilling a higher purpose?
No, because that only and walking can only happen when you lose consciousness. And from what I've read on the subject and my own experiences, a near-death experience does not equate with a loss of consciousness. That only happens if you take drugs.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't happen when you sleep because you're still conscious. It only happens if you go into a coma. Or drugs, like I said.
Drugs and alcohol.
Right, yeah. That would do it. Yeah.
These researchers that are involved with the near-death experience research, there's a National Institute or a NDERF, it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Near-Death Experience Research Foundation. Dr. Jeff Long, Raymond Moody is part of it, and Paul Perry. They've all written books, years and years of history and subjects. In fact, we put their link in the YouTube description so you can see their
There's
video
some reference
afterlife.
Folks.
They did a fantastic documentary. You really got to see it. It's really cool. Interviewed a lot of people. Yeah. But what they're saying in that, and this other doctor that we're going to see this video clip from, it's not drugs. It's not anesthetics. It's not drugs that are administered to you. A lot of medical professionals will say, oh, you people are hallucinating because of the drugs that we give you when you have your accident or your trauma. And they've proven that that's not the case. So it's not, and it's not the same as a dream either.
Yeah.
No, because I can talk, I'll talk about my near-death experience, too, as well.
Yeah,
I had
great.
one as well. But mine was much different than Teresa's, and I was much younger, very young. So I'll talk about mine, which is very different in what I experienced.
Actually, would like to hear that. Go ahead. Go right ahead. Speak about it, please.
Well, did Sophia or Brian?
Welcome,
or
Sophia.
Yeah. She said, hi, Sophia. Want to relate something first, or
no, you go ahead. You go right ahead.
Well, go ahead,
love
Carol.
to hear about it.
Sophia's like, go ahead.
Yeah, you go.
Go ahead. All right. So I was only 18.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I was in the hospital. I was hemorrhaging, bleeding to death, basically. Hemorrhaging. I never lost so much blood, hours and hours. They left me on the emergency table, kind of bleeding and, blood transfusions kind of. And I just remember at the time when I was going under, when I could feel myself slipping, I wasn't, I didn't know I was dying or however that was because I lost so much blood, but I could feel it. I could feel myself going under. And the only thing I remember is the nurse panically getting up and screaming and running out of the emergency room to doctors to try to get more blood. And, they were losing me type of thing. That's all I remember was her screaming, more blood. But then what happened, I don't remember anything else. Okay. But a little bit different. My experience was I didn't see because I was only 18, I guess. I didn't see my life up until 18, like you did, right? I was whisked standing on a mountain. Wow. And I was on the mountain, and all of these things swirled around in my vision about past lives, past excursions or sojourns I've made. I saw experiences in the jungle and with the people, like the Toltecs way back. I was looking at fossils, and on the mountain, I remember thinking about seeing catastrophic events unfold in our world, and the ocean coming up to the mountains, and why was there fossils and shells on the mountain in the dream? And I'm looking out, and then it was kind of future events all rolled in one and there was visions of the pyramids and just the crystal network and collecting crystals and sort of my task. It was all jumbled up. But the funny thing was that ended up as weird is my life then unfolded, and I experienced all of those things that it showed me, like, including connections in Central America, my whole, Toltec excursion and being part of that warrior party and the medicine in the jungle, about my dreaming, about the crystals. But that was all sort of there in that death experience that I had. It was all in this jumbled thing of being on the mountain and just witnessing. And I think that's why I had since then, I was just obsessed with catastrophic geology and events and past events and trying to figure, and just always searching for all the knowledge about, what we were doing here and what occurred, right? And around the world. And so it somehow shaped my life, shaped all the things I was doing, including at the time, the computer side, because I hadn't, at that time, I knew to go into computers and technology.
Right.
Was showing
the computer technology hadn't even evolved.
But no, not then, because this was
right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
78, 79. Right. And then right after I went into programming, showed me the whole importance of that.
Wow.
And that I was to go into that, and then came to, and when I got all my blood I needed, after, and
did you get any
sort
sensation
of after
or inclination at all during that, Karen, that it was your own oversoul telling you what was in store and showing you these things? I got that impression on mine.
I don't know if I knew it was me. And it seemed like a real lucid dream, or something that was so real and so at the moment, and so the information so complex. And I was trying to understand, kind of, happened so fast,
Wow.
But like I said, it all shaped everything I did after that, my whole life that I was going to do from that moment.
And you felt in control of that, though, right? You felt that it was your decision.
Yeah.
So did I.
Yeah,
I kept saying, I want to go. And they kept saying, you're not ready. But it was my oversoul saying, this is just the beginning of something, a new cycle. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was probably like you say, it was my oversoul, my higher self, or whatever, giving me the images of my life and my task and what I was supposed to be doing. And a whole big picture at 18 about the importance. And I think I knew then that somehow all of it had to do with what I was going to be doing in this life and what was to be accomplished. That's all kind of I knew. And then as I started living, it all came about, all of it, all of what I saw, all the information, everything I collected all these years, including just everything. It all came about like in that dream, which sort of like a dream.
Amazing.
So I didn't see loved ones. I didn't, there was a light, like a bright light. And then I was on this mountain and then woke up, and that was it. And it was,
just decided.
And then slowly over the years, we would remember things, right? From that, right? And where do I remember that? Oh yeah. That was from then,
Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Fascinating. Wow. Sophia, how about you? Did you have you experienced that?
Yeah, I've had quite the interesting ride. It's kind of embarrassing because most of my near-death experiences, because there's more than a few.
Wow. So you have more than one, huh?
Yeah, I was electrocuted when I was 12 years old. I got into a train. I was very much a tomboy, and I climbed a tree because I built tree forts, and it was sundown. so I couldn't see to get back down by the time I was done, and I got into a 7,000 volt 250 amp.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It went in my right index finger, my right middle finger, my right ring finger, went down my arm, down my leg, and shot out the right side of my foot and my ankle. The people that were there said that I was probably actively connected for about 6 seconds, and I threw sparks about 20 feet.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Locked myself 5 days in ICU. But as far as like the awakenings that can and do happen, in my opinion, with something like that, I remember.
Excuse the pun, but were they shocked that you made it through?
Yeah, unscathed. Outside of the damage to my hand, the scars to my hand, and the scars to my feet, you couldn't, well, at least physically, they couldn't tell that there was lasting damage. But
did you have your psychic ability before this?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I was actually a very rebellious individual. Surprise.
Guilty.
And I was 11 or 12 when it happened, and I had bought 4 cigarettes off of one of my friends. Cause I mean, that's when my mom needs a pack of cigarettes when that was starting to wear off. They were like, no, So I bought them off of her. I smoked one, and I buried 3 of them at the base of the tree before it happened. And I didn't know until a decade later what I had done. I believe that was my higher self knew that a sacrifice was necessary, specifically for the tree, because the next summer, the tree, green tree, the leaves bloomed blood red instead of green.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, long story short, while I was exiting my body during that experience, I had a book come down in front of me, and it was thumbed from the front to the back. So it looks like somebody just opened it from front, opened it to the back, opened it to the middle, and then closed it in my face.
Wow.
So I would say I did a little speed reading in the Akashic records is what I'm thinking happened. My precog was always very, very sharp, but I started picking up the trepidation that can go with, and the foreboding that goes with it. Kind of like right before coronavirus came up. It was like I was literally every day pacing, scouring the news, because I had the foreboding, kind of like the same feeling of like 9/11 when a lot of people would die.
Yeah.
And that's when that started. So it was like it amplified.
Yeah,
everything.
you get gifts. I think you come back sometimes with gifts.
Or it awakens your potential.
Yeah, you've got it, Sophia. It awakens your potential, because I would have no idea if I hadn't done that, all the potential of the things that I was going to do in the future at all, and what to go in, and how they all work together, as far as the technology and the crystals and just everything I was doing. I just had no idea.
Wow. Anybody else? Dalibor, have you experienced it?
Well, see, that's the thing. I can't say that I've ever had a near-death experience, but I've had a near-death experience. April 4th, 2011, when I had a stroke. And that was a weird experience, because I didn't see myself from outside, but from inside, for want of a better term. I actually started making fun of myself. I was like, it was as if I saw the blueprints for my own body. And I was like, oh my God, what is this piece of shit? Because on the I saw myself as like this chess piece, except I couldn't identify what piece I was. Like, was I a king, queen, or whatever? And I was like, I have this perfectly good brain, but inside this shitty body, shitty brain, And in that instance, I started laughing. I was like almost like Beavis and Butthead, like, so this is what it's like to have a stroke, because I knew what was happening. And
Wow.
that was the only time I ever heard a voice, like a disembodied voice, and that voice said, "Take aspirin now." And I happened to have a bottle of aspirin right on my desk, and so I opened it, and I took the whole bottle, which I believe was about 6 aspirins. I just dunked them all, and that's probably what saved me, because I couldn't call for
Absolutely, it
help,
was.
because I was completely alone in the house, and I couldn't
Yep.
figure out how to use the phone.
I think it was your higher self.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out. I knew that I could call for
Yeah.
help
Yeah, Lori.
with the phone, but I just didn't know how to use it
Yeah.
in that instance.
Wow.
So yeah, that was 2011. I would have been 43 when that
Wow.
happened. And one of the criticisms I had with respect to my body was like, all the reasons that made that happen. Diabetes. The whole everything. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of my experience, and like I said, it's not really a near-death experience, but a near-death experience.
Oh, interesting. I wanted to ask Sophia then, since she's had more than one. I mean, I've only had the one. No, like Sophia, what's the differences between, like, say, your first one, you're 12, and if you had another couple, what are the differences, or do you have any other realizations or something, or how does that work? How does it work with each one?
Okay. Thanks for helping me with my mic, Lori. I'm on the struggle bus this evening.
You're all good, Sophia. I got you.
I can't get my headphones to work and whatever.
Yep. No worries. I got you.
Okay. So, how am I going to answer this? Because I'm tilting my hand in front of the world, which, why not? Long story short, my first one was when I was electrocuted. My second one was self-inflicted. And instead of taking 2 pills, I decided to take 12. And come to find out later, it was not what I thought I was taking. And it put me into a coma. Slightly, like 1 day, because my blood pressure was so low, my beats per minute got down to 20, is what my mom told me.
Wow.
And I wake up. I was an ignorant child that didn't realize the value of myself at the time. I'm gonna regret this later.
We appreciate you sharing.
You're welcome. But anyway, when I decided to get up and get help, because I had an image of my father come to me, and at that point in my life, I cared more about my dad than I did myself, and I didn't want to do that to him. So I army crawled through my apartment because my legs stopped working. I mean, I was like right on the edge. Or are you gonna stay, or are you gonna go? And I remember having enough strength to beat on my neighbor's door in the prawn position the entire time. And I woke up, I guess, a day or so later. I really don't know how many days, but I woke up, and my mom, who was from out of town, she looks at me, she goes, "You just about did it." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then she told me what I just told you about the 20 beats per minute. And I would say severe illness, can do it too, because I've had like spent days in bed. I think that can cause a shift in your energy as well.
Sure can.
For a long, drawn out illness. But it basically amplified my clairs. because I was already open.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely was like I received, and I didn't want it. I hated my gifts, hated them, hated them. But it amplified it, so it had the opposite effect of what I intended.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry, it's not as glamorous.
Hey,
Hey, it's your truth.
it's different for everyone, Sophia. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
You know, because I came out of mine and I was going through a lot. Like I said, the recovery process was horrible. And I had a job where I was traveling all over the country. And so I was drinking and living alone. And I went through the thought of taking myself out as well. And this is after my near death. So, yeah, it opened me up in one way, but on the other way, it also took away my fear of death to the point where finding a way to take myself out, no piece of cake, no problem.
Mhm.
But luckily, I met a bunch of people who got me to
Past it.
exercise. Yeah, got me past it and
See,
put me on a different course, helped set me on a different course, you know.
in a lot of the literature that I've read on the subject, people describe it as an almost ecstatic experience and that it's had positive repercussions in their life, except that I had a friend, and the only other person I know, like before A7, who had a near-death experience, and his personality would be medically best described as an asshole. And he went into cardiac arrest on the operating table, and he went to hell. He literally saw like the yeah he saw like the hospital floor open up and like a fiery pit beneath him. He was
Mm-hmm.
going down there, and he could hear like the sounds of people being tortured and screams and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got him out. They got him out of cardiac arrest, and he came to. But
Mm-hmm. I believe that was his belief
that
of
was
what,
that's what he would deserve.
yeah, or
Yeah.
your belief system really has a lot to do, I think, with how this operates.
Yeah.
So that's going to come into play every time. And
Yeah.
that's why I think it's so different for everyone, is because we're not all experiencing the same lives either. You're unique. That person's unique.
Mhm.
Everyone's doing their own thing, you know.
There was a Grandpa Brian. Do you remember the movie called Flatliners?
I
With
remember
Kevin
that.
Bacon?
I do
Oh,
actually. I
yes.
remember that one.
Yes.
I love
Yeah.
that movie.
Most
So
definitely.
Brian, each one of them seemed to have a experience of having been not so great to others when they were younger, having done things that they've hidden, not owned up to, lied about, hidden in their deepest, darkest secrets of their soul.
Mm-hmm.
And so their near death experiences, as documented in that Hollywood version of things, was to work out the karma from, in other words, their near death experiences showed them what they had been hiding from all their lives.
Mm-hmm.
it
And
was
not
terrifying.
necessarily from other people, but from themselves.
Yes.
And that's where the karma comes in, is
Mhm.
right about there. So it's really important to forgive yourself for those
Yeah.
things, because if you don't, it will manifest into something more. And that's the hardest thing for people to do, is to forgive themselves and let that go, and just cut that cord from it. Yes, it happened, but it's
Yeah.
hard for people to let it go. And I know what that's like. I know the
Well, you know
guilt.
what? You
Well,
know why
what?
that
I
is?
think just
That's because
Lori,
most people don't like themselves. That's why they
Yeah.
can't forgive
Exactly.
themselves.
That's
and
exactly
think
right.
and think about it. You're right, Lori. Like the near-death experience would be different at different periods of your life
Mhm.
compared to others. Like I was so young, and same with Sophia. So at 18, I hadn't lived enough to acquire all these things and all these negative things and attitudes and all this stuff that you would in a near death or a lucid dreaming or whatever. Like you
Mhm.
said, your experiences and beliefs would dictate that. Well, at 18, well, no wonder, and I had no bad experiences up until I came from a good family, had everything, never had anything negative happen. So no wonder at that age, well, there was nothing for me to negative to go to hell or, those things, at 18.
Right.
So I can understand now why I was just showing more of the future about what then like say you, Teresa, or the other person, depending 40, 50 years of living, well, yeah, you would maybe have different visions of a near death or what would happen then,
Right.
That
But
makes sense, actually.
But Brian, when you're working with the Reiki healing with people and you're helping them with their physical, you're also dealing with, as we talked about last week, you can read their energy, their aura. And do you find that this near-death experience that some of them have had might actually be a way for you to work that it? In other words, do you and Jim work that into any kind of a healing program for these people? Because they're facing something so deep sometimes that how can they heal physically if all this emotional blockage is there?
You have
Isn't
to
that
heal
why we have-
emotionally
That's why
before
you
you
have to
can heal physically.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is where Jim's emotional healing class comes in.
That's the class, right?
Participated in it. Yep. Sophia's been there. It's pretty powerful.
I'm sure it is.
Let's
release
play
of
this.
emotions.
Let's play this very brief video clip. It's less than 4 minutes of this doctor. He's a neurobiological psychologist, neurophysiological psychologist who is on the path of helping others to understand how real this is. He talks about some of the misconceptions that folks have been talking about here in the chat room. And let's listen to what he has to say about this.
It is fascinating. Got it.
Okay.
Near-death experiences are profound subjective experiences that many people have when they come close to death, or sometimes when they are in fact pronounced dead. And they include such difficult to explain phenomena as a sense of leaving the physical body, reviewing one's entire life, encountering some other entities that aren't physically present that they sometimes interpret as deities or deceased loved ones, and at some point coming to a point of no return beyond which they can't continue and still come back to life. It's natural for people to think that near-death experiences are kind of like dreams or hallucinations. No two people have the same type of hallucination, whereas near-death experiences are basically the same across people, across cultures, across centuries. I think if you look at what things typically cause hallucinations, metabolic changes, drugs, changes in oxygen level, brain injury, those things produce certain known effects: confusion, agitation, belligerence. They're very different from the typical calm, peaceful, consistent content of a near-death experience. We've looked at specific things that may cause a hallucination. It was thought that maybe lack of oxygen to the brain would have a role in near-death experiences, since no matter how you come close to death, lack of oxygen to the brain is one of the final common pathways. But those who report near-death experiences actually have better oxygen flow to the brain than people who don't report NDEs. Likewise, we thought drugs given to people as they approach death may be causing these experiences. And what we find again is that the more drugs people are given as they approach death, the less likely they are to report a near-death experience. So drugs and lack of oxygen are not causing NDEs. They may in fact repress having an NDE. You can look on a dream as just a random series of visions, a way of processing problems in your life and finding solutions. There are phenomenological differences in the content between dreams and near-death experiences. Near-death experiences often have accurate out-of-body perceptions, whereas dreams and hallucinations do not. And that, to me, is probably one of the best ways of distinguishing between a dream and a near-death experience. Is there any connection between dreams and near-death experiences? The fact that both of those are processed by our brains ultimately says that there's got to be some similarities in how we describe them, how we understand them, how we relate them to other people. Many near-death experiences report things that other people can't verify right away. So we assume that they were just imagination or fantasy, and yet they insist it's real, it's happened to me, I know it. Philosopher Abraham Kaplan talks about the story of a traveler who went to a distant land and came back with a fantastic story about a beast who can travel for days and days and days without water. And he tells this to his people in his town, and they get together and say, we don't know if this can be real, but we're going to get the wise men together and have a meeting and decide whether this beast can exist or not. And the traveler says, what do you mean can exist? I saw it. So it's like if you were hit by a truck and someone says, you just imagined it. You know whether you were hit by a truck or not. There's no doubt in your mind. And that's the way near-death experiences relate to their NDE. They feel like there's no doubt in my mind, this is a real experience I had, more real than this world is.
Get smarter, faster with videos from the world's biggest thinkers.
Wow. Wowza, wowza, wowza. Everybody's muted. Hold on here.
He kind of put the kibosh on all of the common misconceptions. You know, oh, you're just having a dream, or oh, you're just having a hallucination, or oh, that was drug induced, or you know.
Well, the interesting thing is that that these experiences are common across cultures and across continents. That most people report the same thing. You know, the whole life review, tunnel of light, meeting loved ones who have deceased. You know, stuff like that. So,
well, the other doctors that we referred to that are doing all the research and have written all the books on this subject, even the man who coined the phrase NDE that we've referenced in the YouTube description, in that documentary that we put in there for you all to take a look at, he did experiments with over 800 and, you know, somewhere between 800 and 900 people. And out of all of those, he had over 200, almost 300, describing the exact same set of experiences with subtle differences. And the one thing that he pointed out was total lack of fear of the white light. For almost everybody that goes through this, including myself, that white light doesn't represent to us a taking away of anything, or a feeling that we're being controlled or manipulated by source energy. You always have free will. So nobody ever ties
I'd like to
down.
comment on that. May I please comment on that?
Yeah.
So I had a long conversation with my guides about the white light. And my understanding is the white light is there to help cleanse you from the physical experience. It cleans all the negative energy and all the things that you experienced. It's just a cleansing of your soul, basically, so that you can return to the etheric realms where everything is of love and light, the most powerful emotion in the universe, love. Yeah. And so you need to shed yourself of the negative energies. So it's not, if you refuse to go into the light, then you're refusing the cleansing. And that's probably not a good idea to do that.
When you've made a choice to go back into a cycle.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe our avatars experience the negative and stuff, but I don't think my soul needs to be cleansed.
That's interesting.
I don't think souls need to be cleansed. I don't get that feeling at all.
Right.
I mean, our avatars carry the negative.
Sure, but you the have accumulated. You have accumulated. I totally respect your opinion about it. It's just not my understanding of how it works. I'm not saying that I'm right and you're wrong. I'm just saying it's my perception of it, and it's my understanding through my guides that you have if you need to be your soul.
Well, the thing that I figured like that is that then you figure you need to be cleansed, that you did something wrong here.
It's not about anything right or wrong.
It's not about right or wrong.
No,
yeah,
but
it's
that's
not.
To me,
yeah,
the word
you know what? I'm curious, Sophia.
I'm just.
I'm really curious about your understanding of that white light. And what's your opinion on this? from a psychic's level?
I would say the white light is source. You know, when you pass, you're returning to source. That's my off the hip answer. I could see the cleansing thing. But as far as like, I don't know. I would just say the white light would be, you know, acknowledging that that's our feeble minds compared to the collective mind. I think they have to dumb it down for us, and I just think that white light is source.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but then a lot of people who have done that, I'm just going to throw them out,
Sure.
or the other half of it, but think about it. The white light that wants you to go to it, to direct you to go to that white light that feeds you and gives you all that which you believe could be guiding you into the system to be reincarnated and back into it, instead of the freedom of leaving the system. I'm just throwing that out.
Right.
And it's half and half. I've done lots of
disagree.
research.
If you're
I'm just saying research,
right.
half
If
and
you're
half.
a sovereign being, okay, if you come here as a sovereign being, then it is your choice whether you're going to go somewhere or not. And no one has control over a sovereign being. That's my understanding through my guides, that you have full control over whether you come back or you don't, or you go off to some other place, or you want to be on another planet or in a different dimension experiencing other things. But you are 100% in control of whether you come back or not.
And I was, because I wanted to go with them.
I agree with that.
And somebody
said,
Karen. And a voice came in and said, no, you should really, you know, there's another whole, there's a lot more for you to do. And so they gave me a purpose, and I had to make the decision. Do I want to do that, or do I want to go with my friends? And
did you have that choice, Karen?
I made the decision.
Did you feel like you had a choice to stay or go? Did you experience that as well, Karen?
No, there was no decision to be made. It wasn't like that at all. It wasn't. It wasn't like I thought about going elsewhere or whatever. It was sort of like I was showing like all these visions, like a vision completely, but in it, the whole thing, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about where I was going to be or go or anything. It wasn't, I didn't feel that at all. Like,
yeah. So that's just fascinating.
It was sort of like a very lucid dream that was so real to see everything. And then to wake up with all this download or information that I was given at that time, right? And to make heads or tails of it type of thing. And, you know, which unfolded throughout my life type of thing.
Yeah.
See, the other thing I would point out is the commonality of not only the experience itself, but also the commonality of the aftermath of that experience. And regardless of if it was a positive one, like the white light thing or the hell thing, the aftermath was always positive. That it always had a positive effect on that person's life.
Yeah.
And that's why I cite this experience of mine as a near-death experience, because the aftermath of that was very positive, because I lost my left brain, but instead my right brain kicked in more to compensate for that, where I went from a lifelong career of high-level banking, all that shit, finance, you know, to something else. You know?
Well, Paul Perry, and Dr. Jeff Long and Raymond Moody, when they finished their studies, and they each had different study groups, so there's many, many more thousands of people here that were being questioned and that were sharing their stories and experiences. It was an overwhelming majority who felt that they had the choice. And as far as the purification that Lori was discussing, or the cleansing, it's not the same as I've got evil things that I have to get rid of, or I've done nasty things. It's not that kind of a cleansing.
It's like a soul car wash, in my opinion.
No, let's put it better what it actually is. It's
well,
just
I'm trying to explain it. I was in the middle of trying to explain it.
Yeah, realignment of your energetic field.
Well, there you go.
Putting you in sync again. That's all.
That's basically
because you're integrating all those. What I get from this, if I can express it, what I get from this is that we have all these different essences, energies from the conscious field, the collective. We're all part of each other. So we all have those different energies, and we've had incarnations in different multiple dimensions and different types of lifestyles. And so as we integrate and start to come into our knowing, a near-death experience helps you bring that through. Now, later, when you do pass away, finally, when my mother was seeing her mother and having conversations, she was making reference to people that were ancestors that she'd never met. The people that were interviewed by Dr. Raymond Moody were talking about meeting people that they'd never met in their lives, but they knew them to be ancestors. So all of this coming together, that's like Karen was just saying, it's like an alignment, but the cleansing is just a tune-up of pulling that unshuffled deck together so that when you do go back with Source to become part of the unified consciousness, you take all those memories with you, you share it. You share that whole Akashic record so that when Dalibor reincarnates the next time, he's got a piece of that. It's how we communicate in the spiritual world. So we have to go through the white light because that's where we get that energy charge, that surge of energy that separates us from the physical body. The physical body stays here. And we arise in our spirit.
Well,
and go back to a unified field.
As soon as we separate from our bodies, we're light. We're white light. We're all right.
It's energy. It's electricity. And
that's right.
Yes, it's energy.
So as soon as we separate, we're energy and white light. So we're already that. So
yeah.
Which brings.
But if you don't go through it, Karen, you're not anymore because you're going back to the physical.
Right.
That's all Lori's saying.
Yes.
Is that you have to go through the white light to get that electrical charge.
I'll let you know when I die.
Well,
but if you've been through a near-death experience and you've experienced the white light, you know this already.
Well, it was just a flash, and I was on a mountain.
Okay, so
but that's your experience. This is hers.
But I didn't. Yeah.
It's not right or wrong. It's just her experience and yours as well. Yeah.
All right. Well, let me posit a question here. Okay.
Okay.
We know that this happens to us because we're conscious beings, and we also know that everything is conscious, basically, even bacteria, and that once the body dies, you become pure energy. You become the essence of all the data that you've accumulated throughout that life. So when a bacterium dies, it also has the same transition into the afterlife, and it also takes something of its own existing life into a different dimension where it can potentially link up with other bacteria and maybe, try to get back at us for using antibiotics or disinfectants.
Something very interesting happened when I was experiencing my dad's death, and we were in the room, and he had a squamous cancer on his left ear. And when he passed, the squamous cancer died, and his ear, the swelling in his ear went way down. And I said, "Look, Mom, look at his ear. The cancer died with him." And I just thought that was fascinating.
So it was like a parasite.
Most definitely.
The cancer was like a parasite.
Yep.
Yeah.
And once the body was gone and no longer supporting the cancer, it died with him.
Yeah, I can see that.
That was something.
Jeez.
Yeah.
But what do you think about this? Is it possible for bacteria, all this bacteria that we've killed over the course of eons and eons of using disinfectants and antibiotics could be, plotting against us in revenge for what we've done to them?
Plus, what about the thought about creating cancer, and that we actually create cancer through our thoughts and through our things? So, of course, once he died, that thought wasn't holding that
exactly
any longer in that reality.
Very perceptive of you, Karen.
It's us that create the cancer and create all illness and disease and create everything within our life. So once that's gone, so that doesn't exist because he was keeping that alive.
Yeah, that is true. That's true. Yep, I agree. I totally agree with that. Yep.
Well, I do have a couple fun facts here that I thought was interesting in the research.
As we wind down here.
We wind down here. Have you all heard of the term psychopomp? Pomp.
Psychopomp.
Psychopomp. P-O-M-P.
Oh yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay. I was reading an article from Gaia, and it says, who was this figure who assumed the form of my mother? Was it a psychopomp? Well, a psychopomp is an entity that guides our souls safely from the world we know to the afterlife. My mom was talking to her mom in the hospital room. I was experiencing it with her. And because I have some ability in myself, I could see the shadow on the wall, just like I could see Eric behind Lori when she's communicating sometimes with Eric and we're on video together. I have seen Eric behind Lori.
He's a rascal.
Yeah. Oh, which in a minute, we're going to talk about shared near-death experiences in just a moment, because that happens too.
Yeah. It
Anubis, the ancient Egyptian deity, was also a psychopomp. He took the hand of the departed and escorted them to the safety of the judgment hall, where the heart would be weighed against the feather of truth. Hermes was a psychopomp, often seen as taking those in transition safely past Cerberus, the three-headed hound, into the underworld to meet Charon, the ferryman, for the next leg of the journey. Most societies have viewed this guardian of the road between worlds in a positive light. Often dogs are portrayed, which makes perfect sense to anyone who's ever owned a dog. Oddly enough, in today's pop culture, the psychopomp role eventually fell to a dark and troubling figure, the Grim Reaper. The thought of being harvested by the Reaper's Sith is disconcerting, to say the least. Ancient cultures understood the power and importance of our transition from one form into another, and usually opted for a benign image over a terrifying one. Some of the more horrible imagery of demons and devils were designed to terrify an innocent populace, to coerce them into behaving. This compliance was mandatory in order to be welcomed into the next world by a feathered winged angel rather than a bat-winged tormentor. I brought this up because so many people talk about having a guide that shows up during their near-death experience, who tries, it doesn't tell them what to do, doesn't instruct them what to do, but gives them things to think about. I heard a voice, I heard an audible. I don't know who that was. I know my cousin, when she passed, was talking to some type of a guide.
Mm-hmm.
And they come, and I believe they come to us in whatever form we can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
She was relating to her mom. It might be your dad for you, Lori, or it might be somebody else. But it's been known since ancient times and defined as some type of a spirit guide who comes to work with you, to talk to you. But ultimately, the decision is yours as to what you do with it.
Yep.
Well, getting back to that figure of that classical figure of a black robed figure with a sickle, that's only in like Western European and American mythology, because that figure looks exactly like the Slavic depiction of a female demoness known as the Polednica. And she's responsible for bad things happening to a village, like crop failures and child abductions and stuff like that. So it's like a demon. It's not a psychopomp.
Well, see how it's changed? It went from these guides from Anubis. It changed over the history of mankind, or our linear history, and evolved into something like the Grim Reaper, or what you're describing.
Yeah.
It was made into a figure, and probably to control the populace, because in ancient times they were actually revered and respected and appreciated as the guides that they are. Just like today, we have angelic guides who we channel, and a lot of people are like, well, how do you know you're not channeling a demon? Well, because we have a way of working with them to find that out. We test the spirit.
It takes a long time to connect and trust it before you start talking about it.
But popular culture has moved. Humanity has shifted its thinking.
Yeah.
And sees it as more of a negative than a positive.
Yeah.
And that is across the board on almost everything going on around us right now. Which is why Lori came came with the message from the angels this afternoon with her video, her spirit message about be careful what you think about, and flip those negative thoughts into more positive thoughts so that you can be more open to receive. If you go into it with negative thought, you're going to receive negative. Your perspective might take you down a negative angle, a negative perspective, and you're not open to the more positive side of it. So,
yeah, and on that, just as far as thinking and thought, of course, it starts with that. But everybody to be careful about what you think, yes, but it just make sure you don't speak it. So the first step is always your thought processes, but it's a thought
mindfulness.
process but this thought process is where you can stop it or change things and change the thought. But once you speak something or write something or act it out, then that's where it comes in. So
you betcha.
Look at your thoughts and decide whether you want to act on them or not, or speak them or write them or act on them.
Right. Agreed. I agree.
I just caught the comment from Queen Frosty there. Smoking a J, I call her the Frosty. Queen Frosty. Psycho pop sounds like a music genre.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
was confusing.
P-O-M-P.
It was confusing when you first said it. I was kind of thrown off by that. Yeah.
Psycho pop. I didn't make up the term. That's what.
Yep.
But
yeah.
That's
all right.
funny.
Well, fascinating discussion.
Oh, and Dalibor has something for smoking a G.
Okay.
Sharp.
Okay.
A flat.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I was saying as a joke that if I ever start my own YouTube channel, I'm going to call it Smoking in A Flat. Get it?
I'm sure she gets it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sophia.
I wanted to
ahead,
just say one thing that what you said about the cultural context. Yes, that changes because I'm pretty sure that if you were to see a dog man, which is Anubis, trying to guide you somewhere, you'd probably be a bit suspicious.
Yeah.
Sophia,
sorry about
based on that's okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Really bad. Can you hear me? Okay.
There. Yeah.
Go
for it.
Anubis. I've astral traveled with him, and I didn't even know it was him. Okay, you can travel with egregores and deity, whatever word you want to put on there, but they know our fears. They know us more than we know ourselves.
They can hear your thoughts.
When my dad was actively passing is when I traveled with Anubis, but it was in the guise of Molly Sue. So I didn't fear it, but the energy was still present. So you keep an eye for that. The gods are closer than you think. The other thing was thoughts are things. That's natural law. That's what I study at the campus at Camp Chesterfield. And that's where the power is. I mean, when you speak it or write it or act it, you take it from a sword. The mind is the sword. Pull the tarot into it. You start with the air energy, the wands or the action. But thoughts are things. And Aaron's right on. You have to be careful with what you're thinking because then you have the law of attraction. Here, I'll tell you again. Why not? Let's show up on Mari a decade from now. Anyway.
No, I agree with you 100%. That's exactly what I'm saying. Be careful what you think about and what you ask for.
But I was watching a movie. I'm a huge Rob Zombie fan. Huge. I started watching A House of a Thousand Corpses, and it's been 5 years since I've seen it, and I didn't enjoy it quite as much. I mean, nothing against him, but that's lower vibration. You'll change over time to what you'll gravitate to because you're learning to attract that type of energy, is my point.
Yep. Great point. I agree.
Absolutely. Well, I think that a takeaway for me from all this, and this is just me, you don't have to agree, but if you combine what we now know that we've all been experiencing with our near-death experiences, those of us that have had them, and some of us experiencing multiple life memories, we now know that when our time comes, a friendly something will be there to greet us and guide us. I'd like to
Mhm.
believe that.
Yep.
I know that.
Yep.
And we can decide the form that it will take. And an essence of unconditional loving energy that we are joined with always. All aspects of self unified, whole, and complete. And together we can choose to go anywhere and do anything we want. We can choose our new experiences together in whatever forms or locations we desire. And it doesn't mean we have to or even want to come back to this earth school. Those who fear the white light, those who fear they might be caught in a never-ending cycle back here, may not even comprehend this perspective that I was trying to share tonight until they've lived through an NDE. You know, perhaps their oversoul feels they need to be in the cycle again for growth and new experiences that only this place can provide. That's what happened to me. We do not know what the answer is for them, nor the choices they will make. We only know what it means to us right here and right now. For me, my near-death experience wasn't about what's happened in the past. Mine was about living in the now. It was telling me, keep going. You're making things happen. You've already done this. You've closed this out. Now you're starting something new. And since that happened over 12 years ago, I've started something else now that's new. So I'm finding my happiness in now. And so it wasn't about being afraid of dying or not going to heaven and burning in hell somewhere where I was taught when I was younger.
Mhm.
Not about that.
Mhm.
It's about how I live my life now as best as I can, the best version of myself that I can possibly be.
Right.
And make the best
Yeah,
out of
that's
things,
the
even if it's a bad situation.
that's the
Right.
takeaway I
Well
got
said.
from my experience too. Well said.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Fascinating.
with great love, respect, and peace to all of you, we hope you find the joy you seek, okay? And however it is and whatever you experience it to be.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to share with you tonight some different perspectives to help give some balance to the overall conversation as we're all growing and learning together.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
what this is about.
Mhm.
So it's not about
Yep.
trying to persuade anybody any
No,
one
no,
way.
no. Great
No.
love and respect for each and
Yeah.
everyone's opinions
Please
and
understand
their
that. Yeah.
understanding. Yeah, I totally respect it.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome.
Next
Well,
week,
Mhm.
we have. We hope everything goes well with this.
Mhm.
If we can get Frosty in there, I love Smoking and G. If
Yeah,
we can get
let's get her
Smoking and
back
G
on.
back on,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about interacting with spirits. Grandpa Brian had to drop out. He's got family
Mhm.
still that he's dealing with right now, and
Right.
he's got some experiences, G, and we all do in paranormal and interacting with spirits. But the show is about how to close and secure, seal portals
Mm.
that might be containing not so good energies for you. I've had to do it here several times, and there's a way to go about it. Several ways to go about it. Different tools that you can use. So we're going to do a how to close and secure portals, negative energies, spirits that you're interacting with in your homes, your pets,
Yeah.
your personal property.
Mhm.
They can attach to anything, anywhere. I've had them come through my monitor. I've had them come through my bedroom window and through a corner cabinet. I've had them
Yep.
come through a cell phone when I was talking to Brian Lunsford.
Mhm.
So they can crop or they can attach.
Yeah.
Energy essences and entities can attach to people in your family and
Mhm.
bring them home to
Mhm.
your living environment. And
Mhm.
it's no fun dealing with somebody else's baggage.
Yeah.
But there is a way to go about it. There's a way to
Mhm.
do it, and many of you know yourselves, and you've worked with it, but a lot of folks haven't.
Yeah.
So we're going to share our experiences and knowledge and tools that we've used and processes that we've used to do that. And we'd love to have Smoking a G as part of that discussion as well. And
Mhm.
we're looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Well, great discussion, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thank you for everyone in chat. It's been a pleasure and fascinating. So,
and
till next,
as always.
And I do want to say one thing, Lori, and that is to thank you for the extra for stepping up and working with our guides to bring these weekly messages as you're given them. There's a lot of folks out there that channel, but not all of them. Some of them are very commercial oriented and materialistic, but the ones that we love come from a place of love.
I appreciate you saying that.
And I really appreciate you doing that.
I take great pride in the integrity of it, and I work really closely with them, and it's very important that I give something back for everything they've done. So what better way to do it than become a voice for them? So
exactly.
Thank you for
that's
saying
that's a really important message, and I've discovered a couple of things about that myself, and that is that the world of morality basically obeys the same laws as the laws of physics. That action equals reaction. That you have inertia. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. Things like that. So and regarding positive thoughts, they have an inertia too. So the more positive thoughts you keep thinking, the more you tend to think positive thoughts.
Yep.
Shift your now. Yep. You got it. Power of positive thinking.
I just caught out of the. I know we're trying to end the show.
Yes.
But Pajo, with Dark Night of the Soul, is that near death? For some, it might be. It might be if they're trying to find a way to take themselves out in the process of going through their Dark Night of the Soul. They could end up walking that thin edge between now and the hereafter. But is it like that always? No. For me, the Dark Night of the Soul is more of a getting to know my inner self, getting to know my child, getting to know the true me, who I really am down deep inside. So that's not a near-death experience for me.
Yeah.
That was a life-giving experience for me.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Awesome.
Thank you, Lori.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you being here. So much love and peace.
Thanks,
everyone.
Sophia.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.